Hi, I'm Alexa Rubenstein, and for assignment number 3, I will be doing it in video form. I appreciate the more conversational nature, and I think that it's easier for me to discuss my points that way. So, for this, I will be using the critical praxis reflection as my primary activity. I will also be using some notes. And the moment that I'm talking about happened in my field placement. So I work in family reunification case management services, and I connect clients to necessary resources so that we can keep children in the home with their families. So this case involves a single mother. She is Black, she's from Ethiopia. She's taking care of her elementary school age son, and he has autism and a medical gastro issue. So, MOC, mother of child, she was accused of medical neglect, but also reporting her child being sick when he doesn't actually appear sick. And it was also reported that she has mental illness, but it was not specified what she struggles with. So, whenever I do services and interact with a new client, we always begin with intake paperwork, and a lot of that is just general consent forms. But I really enjoy the first visit because, in addition to answering questions and going through and getting those consent forms, I can also meet the family, I can hear their stories, build rapport, and really get an understanding because the case description that we get is almost never the same as when you actually meet them. And that was very clear in this case. I come in, she's showing all of her calendars and the online medical portals and her spice cabinet with a lot of the herbal medications that she uses. And I could immediately tell that she had a lot of care for her son and that the case report was not telling the whole story. So she was also someone who was very religious, very Christian, and she also loved telling stories with a lot of detail. And that was an immediate adjustment I made after the first intake, was just recognizing, okay, I would like to give this client some more time so that she can really tell her stories because they're important, they're very informative. A lot of what had not been addressed in the case report was prior trauma she had experienced. It was also not mentioned that she didn't have reliable transportation. She was about to lose her Medicaid because of government funding or lack thereof. And trauma and the fact that she is a single mother were all not considered. And this kind of goes into the CRT tenet and concept of counter storytelling. So I wanted to uplift this client and her narrative so that she could share her lived experiences and we can dismantle the white supremacist stories that the case had written talking about her. So, one, we want to dismantle this idea that Black mothers are unqualified. That is something that runs rampant through the child welfare system. A lot of times it's also called the family policing system, and I will get to that in the next tenet that I talk about. But hearing her stories allows her to deconstruct stereotypes and also deconstruct preconceived notions and biases I may have coming in just by reading the case report itself. We were also able to address that she has trauma from outside sources, which allows us to really assess the full picture rather than blaming the individual. Ways to also enact the CRT tenet is, like I said, just allowing her time to tell her stories. And by allowing time, I mean accommodating and making extra time. And also allowing her to lead which way she wants the conversation to go. And this also leads into the point of structural and systemic racism, another CRT point. The child welfare system utilizes punitive action and surveillance, and it does this with higher rates against families of color. So a lot of times trauma is not considered, these families are over surveilled, and it is and punishment is more the method rather than building on strengths and positive reinforcement. So CRT principles allowed me to both recognize racism and how to enact cultural humility. So some forms of resistance within this framework are leaving space for storytelling, offering wraparound services to mitigate the effects of racism, classism, all of these structures working against the client, and discussing with supervisors. I brought it up to the case manager that I was confused as to why she was in the system and just really calling that out. I think that another applicable framework here is discrit because it revolves around a child with a medical issue. I also think that ACEs, or adverse childhood experiences, and mental illness can be considered a disability as well. So the child welfare system really reflects the medical model by having one client listed, you have the insurance, you are really focusing on the individual and blaming them rather than all of the factors that go into it. So I also felt that there was intersectionality here that was compounding in that it seemed almost that the child not having the outcomes that are ideal in our ableist society was somehow a reflection of the mother's inability to parent, which is often a stereotype attributed to Black mothers and therefore attributed to the caseworkers who report them. So intersectionality was shown here, and it was also able to be seen that a lot of factors were contributing to this case. So I think that it is important that the child welfare system be addressed with multiple frameworks and that we are able to deconstruct these processes. Thank you.